Hey there. Thank you for showing up. Hey, I wanted to share with you part of my story, part of how I got here where I am today, mostly speaking spiritually, mentally, emotionally, somewhat physically as well, though. So we'll jump in the Wayback Machine and go way back to growing up in a real small West Texas town. I was in an environment, a home environment that was unsafe to say the least. There was abuse and a lot of fear. Lot of fear. And growing up in a household ruled by fear, you develop a lot of bad habits and a lot of doing anything you can to protect yourself. And my main defense mechanism was to be invisible physically and to go unheard, to be out of the room and or to be just quiet and be the you know seen but not heard in some cases. And one of the things that you do in that those circumstances is you develop ways of really repressing your feelings and your desires, and you squelch your voice. You don't speak, and you stay out of the way. The more you stay out of the way, the more you protect yourself and those around you, is the message that you feel inside of you in your life. And also that not only do you get the sense that your feelings are wrong and your desires are wrong, that you're wrong, but everything about you and how you're living can be construed as being wrong. And when something is perceived as wrong by a parent, by a caretaker, by someone that's supposed to be nurturing you, protecting you, and taking care of you, if instead your behavior and how you're showing up in the world is being met with anger and bitterness and hostility and frustration, when that seems like it's all day every day and that's how it is, then of course that takes a toll on you, and you do what you can to try to stay as out of trouble as possible. And so that's what I did. I holed up in my room as a kid, and as a teenager I stayed, was a hermit. I stayed in my cave, my room, and I read and I listened to music and I played music, and I just did whatever I could to stay out of the way. And that's how I protected myself and protected others in the household. But obviously you can't always stay out of the way. You can't always stay out of trouble. You can't always protect yourself in those ways. And unfortunately, ultimately, what happens is you're not protecting yourself because you don't know who you are. I didn't know who I was as I grew up, as I matured physically. I didn't know who I was, and I was in social circles. I was a chameleon. I conformed to whoever was around me, and I acted like the people that I was around, and my shades of colors changed depending on my environment. I didn't know what I liked. and that stuff carried over and spilled over into adulthood as well. And a lot of times, if you don't really get help and you don't get healing and you don't get what your heart and soul really needs, unfortunately, these things tend to fester and they manifest in unhealthy behaviors, and they cause mental illnesses, anxiety, depression, addictions, and I dealt with all of those. Depression being the most intense because I suffered from severe depression, particularly in my mid to late 20s, and some very, very dark, very incredibly dark times that I somehow made it through. I still look back, and I wrote poetry back then. I read some of the poetry that I wrote, and it was just so dismal and so hopeless. And that was my state. That was where I was at for day after day, year after year. I lived in this place of darkness and numbness, numb to the world, because growing up in that environment, repressing those feelings and emotions, that doesn't just change. It doesn't just get better when you get into adulthood. In fact, oftentimes it gets worse because now you're the grown-up. Now you're the one running your life, and now you're the one making your decisions, and now you're the one interacting with other adults who are broken and who are wounded and need help just as much as you do. And so you find yourself in these situations where you're surrounded by people that are just as messed up as you are. And that's what you're resonating with, and that's what you know. You don't know any different. You don't know how to be any different. And I didn't know how to be any different than I was. So in my early to mid 20s, I just suffered in silence and somehow dealt with abject loneliness until I got married in my mid 20s. And it was good until it wasn't. And it didn't take long for that to not be good. I got to a point where I was 28 years old, and at that time, I was raising 2 kids by myself. I was a single dad. I was going through an absolutely insane, chaotic divorce. And I had reached a point in my life where I knew things had to change, particularly because I had experienced some relief from the depression that had plagued me for so long. By that age, by 28, I had experienced some measure of liberation from that. And now that I was in this place of going through this divorce and raising these 2 kids, and I was drinking blackout drunk every Friday and Saturday night, and things were just getting so much worse in my life, and my mental state was getting so much worse, and I could feel the depression coming back. I could feel it coming on me. I could feel it trying to take me over. I could feel it trying to destroy my life. I could feel it taking me down, spiraling down. I sensed it, I felt it, I experienced it, and I got to a place where I couldn't do it anymore, and I knew. So I cried out in a moment of despair and brokenness, absolute, utter desperation. I cried out and said, God, if you're there, you're really there, and you care about me and about my life and about these kids, show up and take over this life, because I can't do it anymore. I cannot do this anymore. And I can't do the depression again. I can't have that. I can't live through that again. I don't have it in me to live through it again, and I will have nothing left for these kids. And I've got to protect them. I've got to take care of them. They need me. I've got to stick around. I'm the track that I'm on, I'm going to end up dead. I'm going to either drink so much and hop in the car and crash and kill myself and others probably, or I'm going to take my own life, or something horrible is going to happen somehow, and these kids will be left alone without their dad, without the one that is here to take care of them. And I just knew this is it. It's like I was throwing down the gauntlet to some invisible being that I wasn't even sure was even really there. But that's when things actually shifted. Things really started to change. It wasn't a light switch. It wasn't an instant. But gradually, things started to change. Things started to shift. My world started to shift. My world started to change. The universe, God, whatever, put a wonderful man in my life, Kelly Kendrick, who became a mentor to me, took me under his wing, and loved me in non-judgment, in acceptance, and showed me, taught me, encouraged me, built me up, advocated for me, edified me, and helped me to see what's there, what's here. Help me to discover beauty. Help me to discover life. Help me to discover the things that I had been lacking. And I immersed myself in learning. I immersed myself in reading, mostly reading. I read a ton, mostly reading things that I would read something and go, yes, more of that, more of that, more of that. And then going to groups and going to church and going to meetings and going to things that I could feel is more of what I want. Yes, more of this, more of what I want, more of this. And so I plugged along and I moved along on that road, in that environment, in that culture for years. And then I moved. I ended up in a new place. I moved from Abilene, Texas to Austin, Texas. And for a couple of years, I was getting my life going, but I was alone. I was lonely. And I'd been lonely. And I was sick of being lonely. But at the same time, I didn't want to date. I didn't want to mess around. I didn't want to screw up and just end up with some chick or chicks just because they were there or just because they seemed cool or whatever. I wanted the perfect, absolute, right person for me. And miraculously, that person showed up. In 2005, I went to go get a book because, again, I love to read. I went to go get a book at a bookstore, go to checkout, boom, there she is. And this May will be 19 years since that chance meeting happened. Obviously, we've been together for almost that entire time. We started out as friends, and then we became more than friends. And Michelle and I have been together almost 19 years. And again, in May, we'll be married 18 years. And she has been very critical in helping me to move along in my evolution as well. It's like in some respects, Kelly handed off the baton to Michelle and said, here you go, love him, show him who he is. Help him see, help him to know how he's loved, help him to understand what's here, what's available, what love is, what peace is, what life is. Encourage him, build him up, support him. And she has done that so much over the years, and it's been incredibly powerful. And she and I together have been on this journey over all these years of learning and growing. We're both students. We're both teachers. We both love to learn. So we read, we listen to things, we watch things, we go to things. We're involved, and it has been incredible. The things that we've been able to experience over the past however many years And somewhere along the way, probably about 12 years ago, we started a venture beyond the box of Christianity and beyond the institutional stuff and beyond the religion that we had grown up in and we had been so fully immersed in for so long. And we really explored and we've discovered so much more. And it's like the more we learn, the more we discover, the deeper we go, the more amazing it gets. The more we realize how phenomenal it really is. Like, so we're, especially over the past even couple of years, it's accelerating. There's this rate of acceleration that has happened to where as we're focusing on what we want in our lives, peace and joy and love and life and freedom, those things are showing up more and more and more. And as we're allowing ourselves to feel the things that are uncomfortable, those things are dissipating. And as we allow ourselves to let go of those things that before we would have labeled as negative, we either accept them and love them as they are, or we just allow them to float away, fall away, move away, go away, drop them, whatever it is. And more we're living the life that we never even imagined we could live. To where now, this present day, I have what I feel like is this wonderful opportunity to share so much of what I've been given and so much of what I've discovered and so much of what has been so beautiful and amazing to me. I get to be here and show up for people in that way. It is my heart to be this conduit of love, to be a presence of non-judgment, to be a presence that cultivates and fosters encouragement, support, and helps to bring about higher and higher levels of peace, love, life, joy, freedom. So I'm coaching, calling myself a peace and freedom coach because peace, freedom, yeah, let's do this, man. We all want more of those things. So let's do that. Sharing with others what I've been able to pick up and helping, learning together and helping us to move along, farther along and transcend those things that are no longer serving us, but are moving into these higher states of being that are here for us, waiting for us to accept and grab hold of and be a part of. We're doing this because this time now we chose to come here, to be here in this place at this time. We got amazing, unspeakably awesome things to do while we're here. So we're leveling up. And this is our opportunity. This is our time to join forces and share with one another. And man, let's make this fun. Let's make this great. I mean, let's meet every challenge. Let's be far higher and above what we had thought we could be. So I'm offering you that invitation to just reach out to me, join me, comment, message me. Let's chat, let's talk, let's go deep, let's go broad. Let's do some really cool stuff, man, because we got it in us. We have the power and we are the power. We are exactly the ones that we were waiting for, and we've shown up. We've shown up here. We've shown up now. We've shown up for this time to be amazing. So let's do this. What do you say? Here we go.